Welcome to the Communication Mastery Podcast. I'm Mark Berlinson. We're tackling miscommunication with the power of understanding, and we're growing our mastery of the foundation of teamwork and all relationships. So, help me spread the word about stronger, more effective communication by inviting someone to listen with you. Then discuss what you've heard and give me your feedback so we can make this podcast even more valuable. For episode 2, I want us to talk for a little while about employee retention. Back after the pandemic, there was the great resignation, as I think the media labeled it. And that season seems to be behind us now, but retention really is a huge deal still across the business spectrum. And so I've done a bit of research and I wanted to share some of it with you and then talk about how we can respond to that from a communication perspective. Experts now are calling the current picture more of a sort of a battle for stabilization and engagement. The battle, of course, between employers and employees. But keeping your best people still remains a massive challenge in today's market. I looked up some data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they show that there's been a lot less mass quitting in the last few years, but employees are far from locked in. There's a massive chunk of the workforce that's still keeping one eye on the exit. There was a Gallup poll that said that 52% of US employees are actively looking or watching for a new job. So the flight risk is real right across the spectrum. And then there's the trap of passive staying. That's something that's increasing at the moment, particularly with the economy in its present state. MetLife had an employee benefit study, and they looked at the trends with employee benefits, and they found that 77% of workers intend to stay with their current employer, but 56% are doing so out of necessity for economic security or for the benefits, rather than for genuine commitment to the business or the work that the team are doing. So only 18% stay because they truly want to be there. That's quite a sobering statistic, isn't it? And then the Society for Human Resource Management, they've estimated the cost of replacing, particularly a top performer in your team. There's a real cost if you lose one of those folks. It can cost between 50% and 200% of their annual salary. So if you think about the folks at the top of your team, how much you're paying them each year, and think of having to put out at least half of that, if not twice that, to gain somebody new to replace them if they were to leave, that really does focus us on the whole question of retention, doesn't it? And so across healthy organizations, the average baseline retention rate sits between 87 and 90%. So there's an annual turnover of roughly 10% of the workforce. And if it gets to anything below 80% retention, then that really does indicate an urgent structural issue or a cultural issue in that business, in that company. Your business is a wheel with many spokes. There's leadership, there's management, there's customer relations, there's marketing, and communication is the hub that makes the wheel turn. So, oil the wheel of your business by focusing on communication IQ. Strengthen collaboration and provide exceptional customer support, boost sales performance, and even facilitate effective learning. Download my free guide today to understand what is causing your team to misunderstand each other. It's called 3 Hidden Reasons Why Your Team Keep Misunderstanding Each Other and How to Fix It. The link's in the information for this episode, so download it today and let's get your business moving forward faster and without misunderstanding. So those are the key statistics that got me thinking about all of this. Now let's talk about some of the reasons for losing some of our best employees. Because when top performers quit, it's rarely an impulsive decision. They don't just on a whim say, oh, I've had enough of this and leave. Most employees enter into what the experts call a pre-turnover state. They're quietly disengaging before resigning. Workforce research highlights there are several primary drivers behind their departures. And the first is stagnant career growth and stagnant upskilling. So this is consistently the number one structural driver for losing top talent. high performers, they're ambitious, and if they feel they've outgrown a role, or that advancement conversations are really met with vague promises, there isn't a clear path forward for them, then they're going to leave. They'll find something else where there's a greater opportunity. So 85% of employees cited a lack of career progression as their top reason for leaving. So that whole succession and promotion pipeline within your business is an important thing to look at. Conversely, LinkedIn found that workers who made an internal career move have a 75% likelihood of staying with that company, compared to just 56% for those who stayed in the same role. So if there's the opportunity to progress within the company, to gain promotion or to find new challenges without leaving, that's the best path for retaining top talent. Second reason that top performers tend to leave is because of bad management and lack of support. That's that adage, isn't there, that people leave managers, not companies. And that remains entirely true. Gallup researched this, and they found that managers accounted for 70% of the variance in team engagement. So high potential talent is going to tolerate a high workload long before they'll tolerate an empathetic or a lack of empathy or unaccountability or a micromanaging supervisor. Any of those kind of dynamics where they're being oppressively managed or without skill, then that's going to cause them to want to leave. Bad management, lack of support, a key reason why top performers leave. The third reason is if there's a toxic culture or burnout within the team or within the company. So mental fatigue has been causing massive attrition, certainly in some fields. It's not really just AI causing people to lose their jobs. They're actually feeling overloaded. The Monster, the website people, they found that about 80% of workers described their workplaces as toxic in some way, primarily citing poor leadership and poor communication. I said there was going to be a communication angle to this, didn't I? The National Alliance on Mental Illness, I found one of their reports, and they said that 1 in 4 employees considered quitting specifically because of their job's negative impact on their mental health. So when a culture turns toxic, 61% of employees say they would rather quit than stay. So paying attention to the culture, paying attention to mental fatigue and those kind of intangible issues that can be so helped by clear communication is a very important part of retaining top talent. A fourth area is when there are rigid return to office mandates. Obviously, there was a lot of remote work came in during the pandemic, but flexibility is no longer a perk in the business world. It's really a baseline expectation. If there's a rigid return to office mandate, then many employees feel that the policy is less about productivity and more about control. In other words, the company is saying, we don't trust you to do good work remotely. You have to be here in the office where we can keep a strict eye on you. And about 52% of employees reported that flexible work policies directly dictated whether they would stay at an organization or not. And then the final thing that causes top performers to leave would be if their compensation is outpaced or their recognition is ghosted, because platforms like LinkedIn have made salary comparisons almost transparent these days. And your best employees know exactly what their skills can command on the open market. And so if the wages are falling behind, the compensation packages are not keeping up with the rest of the market, with the competition, then that's going to cause them to feel undervalued, and that's going to make it more likely that a top performer will leave. Likewise, if we don't recognize when there's an outsized contribution, somebody's done an extra, given extra effort or given an extra needs extra recognition, rather, that's going to cause them to feel invisible, that their effort wasn't appreciated. And that, again, is a very important factor in the way that we manage top performers. So top performers are not staying for a paycheck alone. That's the key takeaway here. They're staying for growth, they're staying for autonomy, and they're staying for a supportive environment. And if you stop and think about those three factors, growth, autonomy, and a supportive environment, the key thing that threads those three things together is the ability to communicate effectively, to make yourself heard with understanding of how you're wired, to be heard by someone who may be wired differently in a way that that values and accepts you and causes them to be able to help you grow in the ways that you are designed to grow, where you can give your greatest contribution. That may be in a sideways move. It may be in a promotion to a different role. It may be in giving support at times of great pressure. But knowing how to do that through the communication IQ process is going to be one of the key ways that we can ensure that top performers feel valued, top performers feel like they have potential within the company, and saves the company from having to put out up to 200% of that person's salary to replace them if they leave. So it's low cost, high impact cultural change to focus on communication, making internal pipelines clearer, coaching managers better so that they don't overmanage or micromanage, but also they don't ghost their teams. And then active recognition in a way that the employee can receive it as true recognition and not just some token certificate. So those things are all threaded together by the communication skills that we learn. So I want to encourage you to download my free guide from my website, because that will help you to see where these factors can be addressed in your setting. And I'd be glad to have a call with you to look at what would be your first steps forward to communication mastery for your business. So go to my website at markberlinson.com and download the free guide using the free guide link at the top of the page. That's it for this week. I hope it's been helpful to you. See you again next week. I'm glad you've listened to today's podcast, and I trust that you're growing your communication mastery for the sake of your business and the sake of our community. It would mean a great deal to me if you'd leave a review to tell others what you think of what you've heard, but also give me your feedback. Tell me what you'd like to hear more of so that I can include your input in future episodes. I respond personally to every review and every comment, so please go today to your podcast platform and leave me a review, and I'll see you for the next episode. Thank you so much.